Hey, what's up, Improvement Warrior? Jason Yun back with you again. Hope you're having a fabulous day. Welcome to Improvement Warrior podcast episode number 43. So this one is another podcast I was on with Jeff McDaniel of Fast Fit podcast, and I've known Jeff basically since I got into the fitness industry sometime around 2008, 2009, and we've always crossed paths at different conferences and whatnot. So we finally got together for a podcast because he went through my 32-day circadian rhythm transformation. Absolutely loved it, all that stuff, and he wanted to ask me some questions for his clients and answer those questions so he can help his clients get more sunlight, get more grounding. And if you are watching the video, obviously you can see I'm outside. It's December 16th as I'm recording this introduction. Still outside. I got clothes on, but yeah, we're having a kind of a mild fall, getting ready for that winter that's coming. But otherwise, yeah. So I'll get into what we cover and whatnot, but appreciate you leaving those 5-star reviews. Thank you very much, and if you do want to support the podcast a little bit more, you can go to my Patreon at Improvement Warrior, improvementwarriorfitness.com/Patreon, and you can become a supporter that way. But otherwise, my big program is 90% done. You can check it out, and I am accepting clients. So this is my Total Circadian Health Reset. This is my big program. We will work together for minimum of 6 months. So this is going to get everything, your ducks in line basically in terms of your health, your dopamine, your electrons, your protons, getting your sunlight, getting your habits instilled, and getting your mindset correct. Okay, so everybody's going to have different, there's many different ways to do this circadian stuff, this quantum health stuff, and everybody's situation is different. So I work with you based on where you are, where you want to go, and how far you want to go. So you don't need to take it as far as I do. Some people just want to be happy and healthy and enjoy life and not have to worry about other people. And that's one thing that you will, once you start raising your dopamine, you're going to stop fearing and stop worrying about what other people think of you. That's one of the big things that this program helps you do, and that's one of the big things that the sun helps you do in getting out of that indoor type of lifestyle. So I can only work with a certain amount of people, so I set a goal, probably 16 to 24 is the most that I can work with people throughout the entire year. So I don't know, I'll have different launches based on openings throughout the year, but if you want to check it out, you can go to improvementwarriorfitness.com/TCHR for Total Circadian Health Reset. And if you are interested, you can fill out the form there. I'll let you know if I have a spot available. But this is not for people who are financially struggling, just so you know. So I've got other programs that you can go to for that as well. But otherwise, what we cover in the Fast Fit with Jeff McDaniel podcast here, where'd it go? Right here. So we get into my background, how I got started in fitness and strength and eventually moved into circadian rhythm, circadian health. How and why I changed my gym studio to a blue light free gym. What are the 2 worst things for your health? Why our eye is the most important thing for health and circadian rhythm. Why you need to follow the money when it comes to the agenda of keeping you out of the sun. The top 3 or 4 reasons to get more sun. Why sunrise is the most important frequency to see. Why blue light from the sun is different than fake lighting. Simple strategies for the busy person to get more sunlight. Why magnetism is so important. Different things you normally do inside that you can do out. Why tan-through swimwear is so important for humans. Why I was fired for wearing blue blockers. and why you should always open a window. So, all right, that's it. Yep, I hope you enjoy this one. If you're not on the newsletter, if you are new here, get on the newsletter. That's where I send all the updates and whatnot. So improvementwarriorfitness.com/NL. And of course, if you have not downloaded the mitochondriac guide, my 17-step guide to becoming a improvement warrior mitochondriac, or getting as close to it as you want to get, download that guide at improvementwarriorfitness.com/mitochondriac. Otherwise, here is the podcast. Enjoy it and have a great day. Stay strong, stay positive, be the improvement warrior. Get outside, get your sunshine.
What's up? I'm Jeff McDaniel from Fast Fit, and this is the Fast Fit Podcast. And today you are in for a treat because you don't just have to listen to me. I'm going to be talking with a guy I've known a long time in the fitness game, Jason Yun. And in today's episode, we're going to cover all things circadian rhythm. He is one of the most knowledgeable people in this field. And we're going to break down some of the lies and myths of sunlight, sunscreen, and sunglasses. So this is not just trainer talk. We're not going to be talking about reps and sets and how to get more kettlebells in your life. I think you'll find this a very interesting listen. You'll discover Jason and I, we both kind of came into the fitness industry at the same time in a similar way, but he has branched out and has a very unique look at all things health and wellness. So I can't wait for you to give this a listen, so check it out. Well, dude, I'm excited to chat with you. I think normally I come in here and I talk about the people that listen to this are going to get a treat because they're listening to me ramble every week. But I mean, here they get a chance to kind of hear from somebody else, and I want to get into all that. I mean, before we do, let's kind of do your origin story, like how you got into fitness. I think me and you, did you do Boot Camp Blueprint?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so that's kind of where I started. I think we came in about the same time, and from there, FR, Workout Muse, all that stuff. We kind of had the same kind of beginning points there and all, and so I knew we kind of kept in touch from a distance and all. So, but kind of give everybody the big picture, how you got into it, and all the way up until we'll have to talk about the lockdown and the whole career shift that happens in this industry. But kind of start from the beginning.
Okay. I started working out basically because of Sylvester Stallone and Rocky.
Nice.
And so I've got the Rocky sweatshirt on.
Love it. Looks good.
Yeah. So started working out 1990, and basically then I was obviously in school. Then I had to go to college, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. My original major was theater, because I said I wanted to be an actor like Sylvester Stallone, but I had to make a switch there, because I really didn't want to be an actor or anything. I just picked something to pick. But the only thing that I'd really been passionate about at that time was working out. So eventually I picked exercise science and went through the program there. I did have to drop down to sports and leisure studies because I couldn't pass the math requirements and chemistry requirements.
Yeah.
And as you know, we always use math and chemistry in our fitness classes. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So had to drop down to there, and then I graduated 2003, sports and leisure studies, emphasis on fitness, recreation, coaching, and felt like I wanted to become like a strength and conditioning coach for athletes. So, and in particular in the collegiate level. So after doing my research, I found out that you need to do that, you basically have to have a graduate degree. So I went, I did a couple of internships. So I did one in Chicago with Unicus Strength and Fitness. And then I eventually went to the University of Louisville and did a strength and conditioning program for, I think, 11 months there, working with like their Olympic sports. So like softball, soccer, basketball, and whatnot. So that's when my passion really took off, and from there I really wanted to coach athletes. So it's like what I wanted to do. So then I chose a graduate program. So it was East Stroudsburg University. So their graduate program in exercise science was supposed to be really good. Went out there, and basically I was in class in school for 3 days, and I was like, no, I can't do any more school. I'm done. So it actually took me 7 years to get my undergraduate degree, and part of it was because it took me four quarters to pass the math requirement, and
it's killer.
2 quarters to pass the chemistry. So I did that, and I dropped out, and basically I said I'm going to move back home and basically open my own business. So at that time I had found Zach Evanesh. So he's basically, at that time he was basically the underground strength coach. So that's kind of what I did. So I kind of called myself the backyard strength coach. So my plan was to basically just market myself and then go where they are, train them at like playgrounds, bring my kettlebells, bring my bands, train them there, train them at schools, whatever, parks, all that stuff. So got home, and then eventually I got stuck in like a 9-to-5 type of job for about a year, but that was actually a good thing because it made me realize I don't want to work a 9-to-5. So basically I opened my own business as a backyard strength coach, but I only got like one client, and that wasn't going to pay the bills. Right. So then I needed to search for different things to kind of pay the bills, and that's when I found, I think it was Scott Colby's boot camp 6 DVD set and whatnot, and then from there I took the boot camp thing and ran with it. I eventually opened up my first boot camp, Young Fitness Boot Camps, and then we started, and just I was doing free boot camps for a couple weeks in like a park.
I mean, it was the time. I mean, that was a unique time. Boot camps were big. Absolutely, yes.
Yep, they were, absolutely. So I did that, and grew my business. So eventually people started paying me, and then here in Ohio we actually get cold winters. So I had to find some place to move in. So I moved into a martial arts studio, and then so that was 2008, and then I eventually grew the boot camp to where I eventually had 3 studios, and then in 2011, Pat Rigsby and Dave Gleason and all those guys came up with the Athletic Revolution. So that was my thing here's my thing to get in and train the athletes. So I signed up for a franchisee program there in 2011, and then started that, and then eventually we opened up our own facility, moved out of the martial arts facility, and I trained people there, so trained the athletes, still trained the adults. That was my main income, was the adults. But eventually I wanted to grow the kids to where that was my main income. But that never really took off, because I mean, anybody who knows who's been training athletes, especially in the private sector, it's basically, especially where I was, so I'm in Hilliard, Ohio, which is a huge sports community, and so basically Hilliard has their own strength coaches. They have their own high schools and high school strength coaches, middle school strength coaches, and all that. So I had to really focus on the adult fitness, and I think it was 2013 I dropped the moniker of boot camp, and we kind of moved more to large group strength and conditioning, large group personal training, and so then decided to just take that and grow that and completely move away from like the boot camp type of thing, because here in Columbus it was very saturated, so everybody was coming out with boot camps and whatnot, and a lot of the programs were not good, so I didn't want to throw myself in that ring. So
hey,
eventually just
let me jump in here real quick, because at this time, I mean we're on the same track, but one of the things we're going to get into is kind of what you're doing now. But the whole, I mean, circadian rhythm and everything that you've got going at that point in time, 2013, 2014, is this part of what you're doing? Is this something, you know, that was already ingrained in it?
At that time, no. I think I was listening to like Ben Greenfield type podcasts, so biohacking type stuff.
Sure.
I think 2015 was when I bought my first pair of blue blockers, but I would only wear it at night, so I usually get home. 2018, so late 2018, I was reintroduced to Dr. Jack Kruse. So I originally read his book, I think 2013, 2014, but I wasn't ready for his message, because I had supplements to sell and all this stuff, and I still hardcore believed it was all about fitness and nutrition. That was the only thing that you needed to be healthy and whatnot. But then I was reintroduced to him by a guy named, I saw an interview with him from the guy, Nick Canal. So he wrote the non-tinfoil guide to EMF. So he's actually got an EMF summit coming up in February. But he did an interview, and I was reintroduced to Dr. Kruse, and then I started reading all this stuff, and then I really got into it. And then September 28th, 2018 was when I started my journey into the circadian type stuff. And so I kind of did a deep dive into his blogs, because he's got free blogs and stuff like that. So I started reading that, and I think about a month in, I posted on his website, or his forum, a picture of my gym with the lights on and whatnot. And he responded, he said something to the likes Jason, I would not go to this place. And you have to reflect on this. If you want to help your clients, you can't send them into hell. And that's when I really started to take a deep dive into blue light and how it's actually affecting us. And from there, it's been major changes. So February of that next year was when, because I was looking into ways that I could change my studio around to be more circadian friendly. So I started changing the lights. I got yellow light bulbs, and actually had infrared lights, because we've got the fluorescent overhead lights, you've got in
right there, yeah.
So we've got those. So basically, I had to just get a bunch of lamps and post them around. And the infrared lights, I would actually hang some of the lights around. So I took extension cords and basically did the staple gun around the studio. Nice. So when I got in, I would just have to plug everything in, and it would all light up basically, but would be non-blue lights. So then from there, I took. So that was 2019, and then of course 2020 came. March 2020 when the COVID and all the stuff hit. So I was planning on closing my gym anyway, but I had to close 2 weeks early because of that. So basically moved everything here to my home gym in New Albany. So I still train some clients out of the basement gym here. But my real focus has been moving towards teaching and learning about circadian rhythm, learning about the three-legged stool, light, water, magnetism, cold thermogenesis, EMFs, electropollution. So that's electropollution, in my opinion, blue light included, is the worst thing for our health. It's if you eat bad food, it's just fuel on the fire, basically.
Well, so, I mean, so that's a great segue. So let's jump into this right here. Give big picture circadian rhythm 101. What is it? Let's get into kind of the nuts and bolts of it, and just how would you explain it?
Okay. Well, basically, everybody knows that the eye is the camera. So we see with the eye. But there's a more important function, and that is the clock function. So our master circadian clock is our suprachiasmatic nucleus, which sits right behind the retina, and it's the clock that basically has to run faster than all the other clocks in our body. So we've got a peripheral circadian clock in front of every single gene, so approximately 19,000 to 25,000 genes. But the eye clock gets off whack. Basically, other things will go off whack, and that's when you're going to start noticing energy decline. Then you're going to start doing symptoms of disease, and then eventually full-blown disease. So circadian rhythm is basically it's a 24-hour clock. Normal processes happen during that 24-hour period. So when we're supposed to eat, when we're supposed to eat or stop eating, when we're supposed to poop, when our blood pressure is supposed to be highest, when it's supposed to be lowest, when certain hormones are supposed to be turned on, when certain hormones are supposed to be turned off. Ladies, they have a monthly circadian cycle. The moon goes on a circadian cycle. The sun, it goes on seasonal cycles, but it has a daily cycle. It rises and it sets at certain times. And basically, if we have too many circadian mismatches in our life, this affects the clock speed. It starts to slow down and whatnot. So you want to think of the clock. The eye clock is basically like a GPS in the sky. So that GPS, the GPS satellite in the sky has to run faster than your phone. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to send you 5 miles off, 10 miles off, 100 miles off, which obviously serves no purpose. So that's basically circadian biology in a nutshell.
So let's get into like some of the misconceptions of just everything. So like we were talking about the lockdown, right? So I don't know how history is going to write about our response to a pandemic, but to think that, hey, we have this pandemic, we need you guys to get out of the sun, get indoors, don't work out, right? Like, could there be a worse recipe for someone's health? So, and one of these would be, it'd be two things, kind of a myth: shades and sunscreen. Right there, and I'll just simplify it because you've done a full breakdown of all this, but how somewhere in our culture, the sun is the enemy and we have to avoid it. And I don't know where that started from, but this all goes into play. And so I did your program, and it was just in simple terms, it was about getting more sunlight into your life, which we have an indoor society, people working in the workplace, but we're also there's this innate fear of the sun. So kind of talk about that, and I don't know where that misconception starts from, but some tangible things people can take from that.
So the misconception of the sun is, and I mean, there could be a whole bunch of it, but it's all you have to do is look at the money. Okay, so any corporation that's making, or any industry that's making billions of dollars off of you staying misinformed, they're going to continue to misinform you. So you've got the sunglasses industry. So sunglasses blocks the master circadian clock. So it's going to throw your circadian rhythm off. You've got the sunscreen industry. You've got clothing that blocks UV, hats, all that stuff. You've got big food, big pharma. They want to keep you basically in this revolving door, and the door, as you keep getting older, the door keeps speeding up faster. So it's the longer you're on it, the harder it is to get off. So once we can educate people about getting proper use of the sun, because what's improper is basically what a lot of snowbirds and northern latitude people will do in the winter. They'll go down to Florida, go down to Arkansas, Texas, whatnot, and they'll go to the beach. And they'll go to the beach, they'll go when the sun is the strongest, when they've been indoors under artificial lighting all winter long, and callous, so their skin is not ready. So it's basically like somebody coming into one of our programs, and instead of giving a warm-up, we put 300 pounds on a bar and we tell them to back squat. Okay? No good thing is going to happen from that. And more than likely they're going to get hurt, they could die, and probably they're never going to come back. So it's basically an unlearning process in regards to the sun, and then a relearning process. So we've been miseducated about so many things, food, water, sleep, all this stuff. But we just have to find the right resources, because there are people that actually want to help you and get better.
I have gotten off so many supplements since finding Dr. Cruz in his work in 2018. It's ridiculous. But one that I still take and recommend is magnesium. The big thing with magnesium is that different types of magnesium are uptaken by different parts of the body and organs. So there is a variant with people's responses depending on what they need magnesium for and how deficient they are to begin with. Magnesium deficiency is just as big, if not bigger, than vitamin D deficiency. And a big reason why is magnesium is needed for the conversion step in vitamin D. So what they did at BioOptimizers and Magnesium Breakthrough is they combined the top 7 forms of magnesium in one capsule. Magnesium is a downregulator for the nervous system to relax and leave us from that flight or fight world of stress that is especially caused by blue light and electro pollution that we are all affected by, no matter how much we biohack. It is also critical for vasodilation, increased blood flow. Any pain or problems in certain tissues, it's because not enough oxygen is getting there. Remember, all disease and ultimately death is a state of hypoxia, or lack of oxygen. The goal of electron chain transport is to move the electrons through cytochromes and reduce to oxygen. It's also super important for sleep and, again, for vitamin D production. Overall, there are over 300 reactions that magnesium is directly and indirectly responsible for. I used to usually just take one form of magnesium for a month and then switch to another form, but taking this is so much better. You can check it out at improvementwarriorfitness.com/magnesium for a 10% discount off your order. There's also a 100% money-back guarantee. If it is not the best magnesium supplement you have ever taken, return it for a full refund. But I know you're going to love it.
So for people that don't really understand, I mean, obviously there's a lot of lies and myths of sunlight. But just in general, like your top 3 or 4 benefits to exposing yourself to the sun each day, what would you say those are?
Well, I mean, the sun basically makes everything inside of us. So I stole a quote from Dr. Cruz that says, if your body makes it, you're not designed to take it. So a lot of people, instead of getting sunlight, they'll just take a vitamin D supplement and pretend that that's like getting the sun. It's not, and it's actually dangerous. So, I mean, there should be a sequence to getting proper sun rays and sunlight. So I would say the most important frequency to get is sunrise. So sunrise will be anywhere from 0 to 10 degrees angle of inclination. Once the sun rises above 10 degrees, then you've got UVA light coming in. So sunrise will actually, so there's a lot of blue light coming from the sun, and that's why artificial blue light is so bad, because when it's from the sun, it's got all the other frequencies with it. So 42% of all sunlight that comes to the Earth is in the red frequency. So it's always got red light, it's got purple light, it's got indigo, green, orange, all those frequencies are in sunlight. Man-made, it's really just blue light and green light. But, so it'll help, the sunrise will help turn on the correct hormone it tells your pituitary gland, turn on these hormones because we're seeing the correct light. So it's going to help raise your testosterone. It's going to help start the morning. Cortisol is supposed to help. It's supposed to rise in the morning. So most people refer to it as just stress hormone. It's bad and whatnot. I mean, it's a hormone. It's part of our body. It's supposed to be in the right proportion. And so sunrise helps set the circadian rhythm. And because we've got this thing called melanopsin in our skin, in our eyes, basically melanopsin is our blue light receptor. So it wants to feel that blue light from the sun with all the other frequencies. And then you've got the UVA that shows up after 10 degrees inclination of the sun. So I always say recommend downloading the app D-Minder and or Sun Position, or there's also a Circadian app. That will tell you exactly where the sun is in relation to the day. So when UVA shows up, that's when we make a whole host of things. So melatonin is actually made in UVA, early morning sunlight. So most people know melatonin as the sleep hormone. So if you want to sleep better, it's best to get early morning sunlight. Dopamine is also made in early morning sun. Beta endorphins. So beta endorphins is basically like it's an opioid-like receptor. So it's basically the sun telling you you're supposed to be addicted to me and not addicted to your phone or Netflix or coffee or whatnot. So all those stuff, then you got other things, you got POMC, you got nitric oxide, all this stuff. And then UVB shows up when the sun gets over 30 degrees. So right now, I'm in a UVB winter. We don't have any. It's not going to show up again until January the 20th. So November 20th to January 20th, there's no UVB here. So UVB makes vitamin D. Vitamin D is basically like a snapshot into your health. It's a snapshot into your immune system. We've got an epidemic of low vitamin D levels across the U.S. and basically across most of the developed world. So that's one thing. And vitamin D from sunlight is different because vitamin D from sunlight is sulfated. Okay, it's made from sulfated cholesterol, which is made from sulfate. And when you take a pill, the vitamin D is not sulfated. So it's kind of like a confusion. It confuses the mitochondria, it confuses us, really. So those are just some of the benefits. And then you're obviously going to feel good. So when the sun is out, I think I've seen the sun rise. I've seen the actual sun on sunrise like 3 times so far this year. So it's gray and dreary here in Ohio, but it makes you happy. It releases those feel-good hormones.
Well, it's interesting you said that. I just read some of the latest research. It's basically common sense, but they have traced all illnesses, disease. For the most part, there's always going to be the exception, but being either vitamin D sufficient or vitamin D deficient. And where you look around at the highest incidences of disease, illnesses, even cancer rates, you're seeing it in the wealthier nations, right? The poor nations do so much better on all these statistics. They don't have access to vitamin D supplementation, but some of the poorest, especially in like your hot regions where they're exposed to sunlight all day, every day, So it's just interesting that they're doing so much better from an illness standpoint. And yet our culture, let's face it, we want everything in a capsule, whether it's protein in a capsule, my fiber in a capsule, and my vitamin D in a capsule. So this is really transformative to think about. I have access to the greatest source of vitamin D every day. Well, except in wintertime, but you know what I'm talking about sunlight, just getting direct sunlight. And I find that, when I talk to people, it's like, oh, man, I got to stay out of the sun, skin cancer, it's going to make me look old. That's the baked-in myth I was talking about. So let's go to the person, some simple strategies as far as, because I know a lot of people, they got desk jobs, they're indoors. If you work from remotely, you've got some more flexibility, but if you're in an office all day long, what are some simple strategies for the busy person to incorporate more sunlight into their life?
Well, obviously it's going to depend if they're working in an office or working at their home. But number one is, it's always going to be get sunrise, whether it's just 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. The more you can obviously get, the better. But setting that circadian rhythm first thing in the day is going to be the most important thing. Then when you are indoors, I'm assuming people can take breaks. So a lot of people take cigarette breaks, take a sun break. Okay, just take them periodically throughout the day. If you do have like a hour lunch, maybe just take a half an hour and then take 2 15-minute sun breaks during the day. One thing, also if you can ground, so if you're next to natural grass, just take your shoes off, socks off, put your feet in the ground, because that's one of the things that connects us to Earth. So that's known as the photoelectric effect. The photons from the Earth interact with the electrons inside of our body to basically give us health. So electrons basically flow in us. So if we start to lose electrons, if we lose too many, then disease starts to ensue. And if electrons completely stop inside of us, we're basically dead. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing, because when you are inside, especially inside an office building, I do recommend the blue blockers. So I'm wearing an orange pair now, but I do have a software called Iris on my screen. So it basically just takes the blue light out. So I don't know if I really need to wear these blue blockers. I'm not going to take any chances, because I had LASIK and I had myopia pretty bad. So I don't want to take any chances. And the older you get, the more blue light affects you. So I just bought my wife a yellow pair of blue blockers, and my daughter wears them to school. So it's just
nice.
A fashion statement. New fashion statement.
That's exactly right. I love it. So you are, so back to this, you're prioritizing really the sunrise over even the sunlight throughout the day.
Sunrise, and then when UVA shows up. Because when UVA shows up, that's a signal to turn off certain hormones. Okay. So if you just get the sunrise, then you kind of bring your hormones up, but you don't turn them off. So that can play havoc with energy, and a lot of people that have been dealing with hormonal problems. So we have got, I forget the name of the hormone specialist, but hormone specialists are everywhere now.
Absolutely. What about wintertime? You mentioned that, less sunlight. Any strategies for people, and especially as we start getting into like springtime and summer, kind of changes and everything. But like, what do you do during the wintertime?
Well, I do get a lot less sun, because usually, if it was July, I would be outside in my office, basically in a tan-through bathing suit, just standing outside all day. But obviously, it's cold here, so I can't do that year-round. I still prioritize sunrise and UVA. And that's one thing is, if it is cold in your area or neck of the woods, get out for that cold, because that cold is actually something that improves our magnetism, which is one of our 3-legged stools, light, water, magnetism. So magnetism is going to help the electrons flow better, so you can have more energy, you just feel better, hormones all intact and all that stuff. But yeah, I'm periodically throughout the day going outside. I try to find as many things to do outside. I play with my kids outside. I do ice baths. I do reading outside. So always trying to find ways to get outside and just get as much natural sunlight as possible. And I also do red light therapy as well. So I do that a lot more in the winter than the summer or spring, basically.
All right, you mentioned tan-through apparel. Let's go into this so our listeners can kind of see the method behind the madness. They may think that's a little odd. This this is one of the things that it was one of my wow moments during your program. I was like, wow, yeah, I never really thought about that. Makes sense, but I'm going to let you run with this here.
Okay. Well, I mean, basically one of the first circadian mismatches for humans was clothes. Because before we didn't really have clothes, we just walked around naked, and we decided to put shoes on, put clothes on, and then all that stuff. But basically, I always say, get your balls in the sun. Ladies, get your tatas in the sun, because it's proven sunlight is the best protector against breast cancer. What I wear it's called a Kaniki. So KINICKI, I think. It's a UK company, and it's basically a bathing suit, but it's just got like thousands of little holes over it. There's another one that's not as revealing as that one. It's called Cool Tans, I think. But yeah, if you want to improve your testosterone, get your balls in the sun. You don't want prostate cancer, get your anus, your butt in the sun. Okay? So one of the number 2 killer of all cancers is colon rectal cancer. And that's because there's no sunlight in the colon rectal area. So you start getting that, your chances of getting that cancer is pretty much gone.
I mean, it's interesting to me that we're talking about vitamin D production just through sunlight, but this is actually the kind of the cancer prevention version of spot reduction. Like literally, it's targeted areas exposed to sunlight. So just so our listeners are not running around naked out there, it's Kaniki is the brand. I guess there's other companies that have kind of these tan through a pair.
Yeah, it's just the brand that I've found and I use. So. Yeah, and most skin cancers are actually on parts of the body that aren't exposed to the sun. So,
yeah. What are some of? I think you got another program starting soon, so we can talk about that in a second. But what are some of the most asked questions that you get about this?
Most questions? Mm-hmm. I would say. Biggest question is basically how or where to start, because most people think it's just getting more sun blocking blue light, and like I've mentioned a couple times, most important is getting that sunrise. So I'd say the most important frequencies are going to be sunrise, because sunrise and sunset. And then UVA, early morning UVA. And those are the times that you're going to be able to build up what I call your solar counts. So basically, your melanin in us, that's our natural sunscreen. So it's why we don't ever need fake, chemical, toxic sunscreen. Because we've got the melanin, and if we build it up properly, so sunrise, sunset, early morning, late afternoon, that's when the UV is lowest. And then when we build that solar callus up, we're able to stay out in the more stronger UV light. And we're able to, that's when UVB is highest, vitamin D is going to be the highest. So you can build up your vitamin D, build up your immunity, all that stuff. So getting those, starting there with the sunrise, and then obviously trying to block as much artificial light. There's certain light bulbs that I recommend that take blue light completely out, and obviously blue blockers indoors when you can. And yeah, so those are some good starting points. In terms of like blue blockers, I mean, obviously we are surrounded by screens. We're immersed in it all day long, even at night. So what would you recommend as far as like, is there a brand or something people can kind of shop for or look for? Yeah, if you, all the recommended blue blockers I have is at improvementwarriorfitness.com/blue blockers. There's like discount codes and whatnot. So these are Swannies. pair here. This is the red pair here. So this is when I go to grocery stores or at night. So these are Midwestern light therapy. So these are actually the best at the price that you can get them. So these are just $35. Some of them, I mean, they go up to $120. So the pair I had before that, I stepped on and broke it. So it's a little bigger investment to go buy a $120 pair of glasses. But yeah, so there's several recommendations over there.
And quite fashionable. I mean, I like the look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most people think they're sunglasses, so yeah. So, but it's still got a ways to catch on. Because I actually applied for a personal trainer position, and the guy basically hired me over the phone. But then I came in, went to the training, and then he sat me down and told me there's no sunglasses allowed in the building. And then I basically went into like a 45-minute presentation on circadian rhythm and whatnot. But he eventually said he talked to corporate, and I basically got fired for blue blockers. So
wow, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. Gosh.
Yeah.
They need to get educated.
Yeah, they do.
All right, man. So talked about this program you got starting. It's I guess it's round 2, 2.0.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Tell us about that.
So the 32-day circadian rhythm transformation starts up January 24th, and basically I run every quarter. And basically it's just to start the process, start the healing of our circadian rhythm, and starting to fix that. And then as in 32 days, you'll feel big difference in the way you feel. But obviously that's just the start, because these habits are lifelong habits, just like we teach the workouts and the nutrition and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'll put the link down in the show notes. But that's it's pretty cool. And your website is what?
You find everything at improvementwarriorfitness.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really good stuff, man. I'd love to get you back on, maybe do this again, like right before summer or in springtime, and kind of talk about the difference then. And but it's I just think I think this is an undervalued aspect of our health is sunlight. We've just kind of tried to hijack the system, and it's indoors. And like I said, I mean, you mentioned that. I mean, I don't know what your beliefs are about vitamin D supplementation, but this is part of the myth that we get into, that we have to supplement everything versus, I mean, you apply this with nutrition, right? Like people, I'll take my multivitamin versus eating actual fruits and vegetables, and same thing with sunlight. So I think it's very interesting, and it's something I try to apply to myself. I think one last question I'd ask you, so I'm here by a window. This is one of the things I learned. The sunlight to the window, it's doing nothing. Like you're not really getting anything from the window, right?
Well, if the window is closed, that's actually a bad environment, because windows, they block 100% UVB, 99% UVA. They let all the visible light in, so they let all the blue light in, and they block like 40 to 60% red light. So you're getting a very altered spectrum. So it's always best to just open a window, even if it's just a crack, because usually the sunlight is non-linear, so it just takes this tiny stimulus to create a massive amplification inside of you. And usually windows have like aluminum or something that the sun can bounce off and around and all that stuff.
Man, it's good stuff, man. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed listening to you. Like I said, I've learned a lot just from that first round I did, and I'll post that link to your program and get the word out to people, and especially the blue blockers. So I'll have to take advantage of that discount code you got there, man. Very cool.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
All right, man. We're good chatting with you, brother. We'll catch up soon.
Absolutely.
All right, man.
Have a good one.
You bet. Take care.
I will say it again and again. Your phone is one of the biggest detriments to your health due to the non-native EMF and blue light coming from it. However, with One Tap Zap app,
from solar-powered Rusty. You can take care of blue light, Wi-Fi, flickering effect, all in one simple press of a button. One tap zap, you can disable Wi-Fi and Bluetooth completely. Get rid of your connection with the cellular tower, apply a blue light filter, reduce screen flickering, especially over low brightness, achieve sound sleep almost immediately, improve your mitochondrial health significantly, and maintain eye health with no more dry eyes, and numerous health benefits as well. One tap zap, you can check it out at improvementwarriorfitness.com/solar powered. Unfortunately, it does not work for Android, just iPad, iPhone, and Macs at this time. But check it out, improvementwarriorfitness.com/solar powered. If you would like to support this podcast, then please visit me on Patreon to become a patron of Improvement Warrior Podcast. The podcast may be free for you, but it definitely is not free for me. So even if it's just $1 pledge, or $3, or $50, I would greatly appreciate it. Just search on Patreon for Improvement Warrior, or go to patreon.com/Improvement Warrior. It will also be listed in the show notes, along with other ways to support the show via our sponsors, or either via PayPal or Anchor support. Do you want to work more closely with me? Everybody needs a coach. Some need multiple coaches. A coach can come in many forms these days, from video to podcasts to seminars to DVDs to books to Audible to in-person coaching to online coaching. Strength coach Dan John has the perfect quote: "If you are coaching yourself, then you have an idiot for a coach." If you are stuck in life with your health, business, mindset, wasting time, and don't know the next step, and you are ready to change, then the first step is to set up a discovery call with me. In this 5 to 10 to 15 minute call, we will discuss where you are and where you want to go, and what I can do to help you get there the fastest. To schedule your discovery call with me, simply go to improvementwarriorfitness.com/discovery